Welcome back to another episode of the Working in Hockey podcast. My name's Nick Mullins. I'm joined by my co-host Lucas Georges as always, and today we're super excited to be joined by the WHL Saskatoon Blades communication manager Tanner Chubey. Tanner, how you doing here today? Appreciate you taking the time.
Good, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited for this.
Absolutely. Season's going well so far out there?
Yeah, it's been a fun start. We actually just had we've had one game at home, three on the road. Just had the biggest home opener attendance in franchise history. We were just
Wow.
under 10. So it was really fun opening weekend here in Saskatoon, and a big overtime win against our biggest rival always helps.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. But for those who maybe don't know as much, Tanner, what does a communications manager do? What's a day in the life like for you? Give us a little bit of insight on your role there.
Yeah, I think it differs definitely from league to league and the level you're at. I can speak on a WHL level for sure. It's more than just media releases and organizing community events. There's a lot that goes into it. I've had to learn. Obviously, I come from a journalism background, but I've had to learn graphic design, video editing. Um, can come down to just building relationships with hockey operations and other staff across the league. A lot of it comes down to content creation as well. You're responsible for everything that goes on every social media platform. Your marketing, there's so much that goes into it. You're working tightly with every department in the organization at this level. Like, I work every day side by side with sponsorship, with hockey operations, with our business operations, our marketing team. So it's a very busy position, but it's very fulfilling, and there's a lot of pride to be taken in it for sure.
Yeah, and I think when you're able to touch so many different areas of the business, right, it really lets you learn more about what you love doing and what maybe you don't love doing, and can take that into your future career path. So we always like to ask this because every team has a different setup, but how many business staff do the Blades have, and how many of those business staff are joining the team for road and away games?
So, for exact number of business staff off the top of my head, I would say probably around 20 business staffs. We're definitely one of the, I'd say, larger staffs in the Western Hockey League. And a lot of that is we've grown a lot over the last 3-4 years that I've been here. We're all an organization entity called Sask Entertainment Group. The Saskatchewan Rush, the professional lacrosse team, is under that as well. There's a baseball team here in Saskatoon as well under that same ownership group. Um, but out of all the front office staff that would travel with the team, that it's just me. I'm kind of this middleman position where I'm front office, also seen as a hockey ops kind of employee as well, and I'm kind of the middleman between the both sides.
Awesome. Always in the mix. That's what a communication manager means. Always in the mix, always on the bus. Long bus rides out there in the dub, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I wanted to touch on the Victory Plus broadcast that you guys are doing. I know you're a big part of that, and it's something pretty unique for the CHL, the WHL there. Tell the people a little bit more about that project, how it came to be, and kind of what your involvement is there, Tanner.
Yeah, so last year the WHL and Victory Plus announced this partnership before the 2025 WHL playoffs. And for those that don't know what Victory Plus is, it's a free streaming platform for sports. And there are a couple NHL teams that use it. The Dallas Stars have their broadcast on there, the Anaheim Ducks as well as a couple MLB teams as well, the Rangers. And so it was a really big change for the WHL because previously CHL Live had a paywall in front of it that fans, you had to pay to watch WHL games, and it was a cool test to see it work in playoffs, and went really well, and it returned this full season, every WHL game free on Victory Plus. And we at the office thought this is a really good opportunity to get eyes on our team and eyes on our sport and league, because I mean, you guys can probably relate to this as well. Like, streaming services, not only do you have to pay for so many now, but prices are just going up.
Yes.
And I think it's super awesome that our league is doing this to get more eyes on our product. And we wanted to take it one step further, where you're not just tuning in and getting the commercial in progress. vision. We wanted to be able to bring stories to fans that are tuning in from the road team or fans that can't make it to the game, and really grow eyes on our product. And we've only had one broadcast so far. Had some technical issues, which I think is always to be expected. There's always going to be uh, errors and tech issues to clean up, but honestly, I was super proud with how the first broadcast went, and we're excited to build off it.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you mentioned, especially with the prices going up, right? It's like you check your statement at the end of the month and you're like, wait, I'm subscribed to 80 different services. I need to start getting rid of some of these here. But to pivot a little bit here, we always hear that hockey is so far behind other sports with players and like expressing themselves and really showcasing their personality. What has your experience been working with players, and at any stories you may have around that? And do you feel like the next generation of players is a bit more inclined to be involved in the media and really share their personality?
Yeah, in my personal experience, we've had to me, I find it comes down just to the person's personality. There are just people that they don't like the camera, they like the quiet, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Some people, it's just not for them. But I have noticed that a lot of the guys that have come through here, they want to show their personality, and they're not afraid to either. Best example I can give you is our goalie Evan Gardner, Columbus Blue Jackets prospect, and um, where he really related to a lot of people. He was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes as a kid, and when we came to him saying, "Hey, I think this is something that a lot of people could relate to. Would you be willing to share your story?" He took it, and he is the one that has started initiating stuff with Work with Diabetes Canada, and he wants to continue sharing his story in that sense. I mean, if you see his goalie mask, he's got little nods and designs on there related to that diagnosis, and it's just part of who he is, and he's not afraid to share that as well. So, and he's just if you meet a guy like Evan, he's such a character guy. Like he's an odd goalie. I mean, you guys know goalies are a bit of a different type, and I remember one time before a game, we have a junior blade where they get to go sit on the bench for warm-ups. Um, and usually I would ask who their favorite player was and then get them to come, have a chat or fist bumps during the warm up. And usually you try and stay away from the goalies. And I asked Evan, I said, hey, if you can just don't mess up your routine, but if you can come by the bench and say hi, please do. And Evan's like, oh, I don't have a routine, man. Like it's so a guy like that is super awesome to build off of. And yeah, I think guys are definitely getting more comfortable sharing their personality and being more open um, in that sense.
Yeah, and I think that alone, you'll start to notice more of those diamonds in the rough of those guys who have those amazing personalities who in past years in hockey, guys like that may just be behind the scenes and not able to show that off. So I think the more that we can do that, the more that the game will grow, and the next generation will come in and continue that. So how about the coaching or management side of things? How have you been able to create relationships with hockey ops staff and gain their trust to share their stories and opinions?
Yeah, and a lot of it it does come with time and trust. And one thing that really helped was the road trips. For anyone that can get that opportunity in a position, that's where you really those are great bonding experiences. I mean, they're long bus rides, as you mentioned earlier, Nick. The coaches are away from their families, the players are on the road for a long time. So it's a good bonding experience where it's just the team. And I think that's where the real connections grow and the trust really gets built, and you get to learn more about, all these players that, I probably wouldn't have learned on just a regular day at the office here, regular practice day at Sask Health Center. So that's where I think a lot of the trust come in. And I think a lot of it too just comes from the work you do over time. That does take time to build. So The road's definitely the biggest one that helped.
Absolutely, it is. And I know you first started with the Blades through an internship there, Tanner. And I had similar experiences interning in the OHL there. And to me, like you said earlier, the biggest thing with working in junior hockey or anything below kind of the NHL level is just the smaller teams. You get to wear so many different hats, see so many areas, and touch so many different things there. What's something that you've gotten to do that maybe you didn't think you'd ever end up doing? Or something that you've gotten your hands on now that you're like, oh, I really enjoy this and I never would have thought of it.
So funny, when I first got here, one of the first things I asked, I was like, "Do I have to do graphic design?" And they were like, we had a creative content manager who has now recently just moved on to Calgary Sports and Entertainment, but they were like, "You're probably going to have to learn a little bit." So at the start, I could not stand doing graphic design. I think part of that was just I wasn't very good at it. I never had experience or background in it. And oh my gosh, if I look back at some of the first graphics I made here, they are rough. But with a
We'll,
little
we'll
more
pull some up for the clip. We'll pull some up for the
Yeah,
clip.
we got to pop one on screen here.
I'll see if I can find some if you guys can, but they're bad. But as I kept working, and I got to give a shout out to Brad McLeod. He was our creative content manager here, and he was so good and so deserving to get that job in Calgary. And he taught me so much here, and he made it enjoyable to learn. And now graphic design is something that I'm definitely not at a top tier level, but I'm definitely at a level comfortable enough where I can trust myself to make something and be proud of it, and look for little things in a graphic that I would have never even considered before. And just those little eyes for detail. So I would say graphic design is definitely something that has gained my interest since I've started here.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, we're touching on doing many different things. You've also done some play-by-play work, including for the Canmore Eagles in the AJHL. How do you look at that experience, and what were some of the biggest learnings that you took from doing that and calling games?
Biggest learning lesson I took from that is prep is everything. If you are unprepared for a broadcast, whether that be from the Victory Plus show, whether that's for play by play or even color, if you're unprepared, it's going to be really tough to feel confident about what you're talking about, and convince others to listen and hold value to what you're saying. Now, me and my friend Riley, who did the Canmore Eagles broadcast, we were both students in school. I wouldn't say we prepared to the best of our ability, but it was definitely an eye opener to see going forward what you have to do and the work you have to put in to get to even that level, the AJHL level. There's some great announcers in that league, and I think that's one of those streams that's very hard for people to get in because there's only one play-by-play announcer for a team, right? So it's a difficult path to get into. Um, but it definitely taught me, like, always be prepared. 2 minutes of extra knowledge on something is better than winging it.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. And I mean, obviously, you're well spoken, you're comfortable on camera, you've gotten a lot of reps now. But is that something you've kind of always had in you and knew you wanted to do, Tanner, or is that sort of a muscle that you got to train and build up over time?
Uh, Around grade 11 was when I had this idea that I wanted to do work in hockey, and more so be in the play-by-play broadcasting side of it. Um, But I can tell you, when I worked at Global News before here, and then coming here to do sports hits and sports videos, you have to kind of retrain yourself how to talk. If I look back to some of my first like game previews when I first came here, I'm in this very newsy, stern, like very professional voice. And I think that's the beauty of working in sports media. You get to learn and take a step back to be a little more personable, a little more, have more personality, because a big part of it, especially working for the team, you have to be able to connect with fans. It's definitely something that doesn't just come overnight, at least for me. I think maybe for some people it does, but there's definitely practice, and like you said, Nick, getting those reps in is a really important thing.
Yeah, I think that's something even for me, like with this podcast, it's like the first episode or two that I did, I was kind of like, but then you realize like, okay, we can go back and cut stuff. I guess play by play, right? That's a whole different story. So um, we always like to mix in a little hockey talk here as well. So off the top of your head, who's someone that you've watched while covering, like watching up close in the WHL that you like think back to immediately is like this guy was crazy good? Or secondly, who is someone that we should keep an eye out on this current Blades team for coming up this season?
Well, I think the first one that definitely pops up for me is Igor Sidorov, a Anaheim Ducks prospect. Played with the San Diego Gulls last year. His 19-year-old year with us here, 2023-24, the year we finished with the best record, won the Scotty Monroe Trophy. Like, man, this guy was putting on a highlight reel goal every week, 2 weeks. It didn't stop. It just felt like we were always. I think I put out a tweet one time. I was like, we have nothing left to say for Igor Sidorov because he would score behind the back, between the legs, spin around. I was like, he was super good, but obviously lots of talented players have come through here. Fraser Minton, on and off the ice, just a gem of a human being. And even guys that, may not be on as many people's radars. Like I look at Charlie Wright, a defenseman here for 5 years. He's playing, he signed with Coachella Valley of the AHL this year, just worked his tail off, and earned himself an AHL contract. And the list could go on and on. In terms of current Blades, um, there's quite a few. Like Hunter Lang's impossible to miss. Calgary Flames draft pick, 6'5", 6'6". He's a massive frame, and I think couple guys to watch out for maybe for the upcoming NHL draft. Cooper Williams played at Hlinka Gretzky this past summer with Team Canada. I think other guys to look at too for the upcoming draft. Forward Zach Olson, again, another big body. He looks like a man out there, and Braden Klimke, a 17-year-old defenseman on the back end. So those would be a couple that I would keep an eye out this year for.
Sweet. Yeah, that gives me some flashbacks to when I first worked with the attack in the OHL and the number of times that I tweeted Nick Suzuki scores again. It's just like, all right, I'm out of things to say. Like, I don't know, he's getting 3 every night. What do you want me to tweet?
Yeah.
Very there, but I guess kind of keeping it on hockey, if not on ice. There, obviously, no shortage of changes to the junior hockey landscape in the time that you've been working with the Blades there. Of course, kind of with the BCHL and otherwise there, and then the NCAA and eligibility. What's your sort of view on that from, kind of being in the mix there, Tanner? And, give some people some confidence that, hey, CHL's got a lot of talented players for a lot of years to come.
Yeah, I don't think it hasn't devalued the product or made the product worse. I mean, I've just seen that in the first 4 games of this season. And obviously you see, some big names leave for NCAA and Gavin McKenna and Ryder Ritchie and these guys, right? But which I don't think the NCAA thing is bad for players. I think it's just another avenue for players to continue playing hockey. Even if they don't want to go, it makes their options more. But I understand where some of the concern comes from for fans. But like you said, there's still so much talent in the WHL, especially. Like I look just up north in Prince Albert, Daxon Rudolph. He's projected to be a first round pick this year and potentially top 10. He's a defenseman for the Prince Albert Raiders. Guys on our team projected to be drafted to the NHL this year, like Cooper Williams. And so much talent out west. I mean, Kelowna still has, a guy like TJ Ginla is likely coming back. Tarek Parasak just got returned to Prince George, Capitals prospect. So I think what we're going to see in the WHL is it's going to get a bit younger. I think we're probably going to see a lot more 17, 16s playing in the league. 17, 16-year-olds, that is. But I think it's going to open the door for more opportunity for people too, which is never a bad thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think You said this is just gonna be another wrinkle. We're gonna look back on and be like, "Oh, yeah, I remember that happened," but it's just another layer in hockey, and there's so many talented players that we could build a couple more teams. There's so many good players in the CHL these days, so, totally agree there. We touched on kind of the long road trips. What's the longest bus ride you've had to go on so far, Tanner? And I know there's a lot of cold barns in the Dub. What's the coldest one you've had to sit through for a game?
The longest bus ride. So the way it works in the WHL, for people that don't know, 1 year, the Eastern Conference teams, which would be like Saskatchewan, Alberta, 1 year they go out to BC. The next year they go to the US division, and you do that once a year, and then it flip flops, right? Whatever division you don't go to, the other division comes and visits you. Uh, so I would say the longest probably was from Saskatoon to Wenatchee, Washington. We did that in straight. We did that straight one day. We have our US trip coming up. We start in Everett, Washington. Thankfully, we're stopping in Kamloops for a night to break up the bus ride a little bit. And the coldest rink, yeah, there's quite a few. Honestly, one that may shock people, Rogers, in Edmonton. I don't know what it is. It's very, when you get high up there, it's freezing. Like I have to wear a coat sometimes. It's bad.
That's funny.
Yeah, so to pivot a little here to kind of, I want to say like inspiration for you going into the communication side of things. Is there someone that you look at in particular that you maybe try to emulate, or someone that you've seen in a similar role or similar career path that you've always kind of looked up to in that sense?
In terms of the communication side, I think an easy one that I look to lots. He taught me a lot with writing because he graduated from the same journalism program I did. But Mitch Bach was the guy that I interned under here. So in terms of writing, I always kind of look towards him as an inspiration. But in terms of people, to be honest, I didn't really know much about the communication side until I started getting close to graduating college. Like it wasn't something I had even considered until I would say, yeah, I interned here and realized that this is a whole different side of the hockey world that I never even knew of. I think what I use a lot for inspiration is other creators, and I mean, the NHL is an easy one to look at, and the stuff that teams create there. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she got a lot of love when the Detroit Red Wings did their Fedorov retirement announcements.
Oh, yeah, that graphic?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've started following her on Instagram because she shows how she does all her graphic design and her creative work. She's definitely someone when I need creative inspo or just something for a different perspective, I go look at her work because she does a fantastic job.
Yeah, no, I think there's so many talented people. We talk about the on ice, there's so much talent, but off ice too. I mean, there's so many people that, kind of like you said, you don't realize these lanes or avenues exist. And that's the whole goal of the Working in Hockey podcast is to show
Mhm.
people these different avenues that do exist. So thank you for saying that. Last thing that we always ask here, Tanner, and I'm gonna kind of split it into two questions for you. First, what's the best piece of advice you could give for somebody looking to be on camera or on broadcasting, play by play, somebody talking on camera or on air? What's a piece of advice you'd give for them?
The biggest piece of advice I can give, and it's easier said than done, it's something I've had to learn a lot, but try not to take yourself too seriously. We're human. You're going to stumble over your words at times. I've messed up a stat, said the wrong stat, or I think in that sense, like just accept there will be mistakes, try and learn from them and build off them. And the biggest way to avoid that is it's your preparation. Always try and be prepared and always do your research. That's probably 3/4 of the job. The on camera, if you've got your preparation down, if you've got, all the knowledge you need from the research you did, the on camera work's the easiest part.
Yeah, that's very well said. And I guess two-parter here, just general career advice. You're a guy that's worked in hockey, you've worked outside of hockey, you knew you wanted to be in the game, you've worn a lot of different hats within the game there. What's the best piece of advice you could give somebody looking to break into the sports industry as a whole, Tanner?
Uh, One thing they always told us in school, and it rings true, always say yes to an opportunity. You never know where it's going to lead. even if it's something that you're not comfortable with or don't have experience in, give it a shot, because then you've done it, you know where to build off from there. And I think that's the most important thing. And it's true in other industries, but definitely in this industry as well. A lot of it can be who you know as well. And one thing we value here, like I knew nothing about graphic design, but I came in here, I worked my tail off to try and get better at it, as well as other aspects of the job. I think that's another expectation you have to have. I think some people think working in sports and hockey is, oh, I just get to watch a hockey game for a living. There's a lot that goes into it. There's late nights and a lot of sacrifices on weekends and holidays. So biggest thing I can just say is say yes to every opportunity you get.
Very well said. Very well said. I think that's, like you said, that's one that we all hear, but doesn't really resonate until it does. And then you go, oh, that's what they meant. Kind of like networking too, right? Everybody says network, and then you finally realize one day what that actually means. But Tanner, that was awesome advice, and truly can't thank you enough for taking the time to chat with Lucas and I here today. Tell the people where they can find you online if they want to reach out or pick your brain any further.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you guys for having me on, and I want to, pump your guys' tires a little bit. I really love what you guys do with working in hockey. I think it's so awesome. Like you said, Nick, like it's like I think a lot of the time there's these avenues people don't know about. So I think it's awesome that you guys show how much opportunity and jobs there are in the hockey world. So I really appreciate that. If people want to find me, they can look up my Twitter. It's at Chubey Tanner. As well, anything you'll see me on the Saskatoon Blade social media from time to time. You can always find me there as well.
Awesome. Well,
Awesome.
we definitely appreciate that. Who says no to a little tire pump? But
Yeah.
Tanner, this has been great, man. Best of luck with the rest of the season, and guys, we'll see you next week for another episode of the Working in Hockey podcast.
Thank you.